I got the new Jordans on, I'm running fast as shit. So when the in the building, bitch, flash them tits, I'm like, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
Hello there, my Gummy Knights, and welcome back to Echo Chamber. Alright guys, so I want to kind of like do a quick review on the second trailer of Records of Ragnarok, and kind of like just give my thoughts on the whole entire thing, and just showcase you where I am, because I believe that the release date, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be sometime in June, which, you know, is right around the corner, so I am mostly excited, and this trailer only helps fuel that excitement, but at the same time, I think that I'm a little bit worried. And this particularly comes in around the animation style. Now, I know that a lot of people like to preface their videos when they say that, oh, I'm not an animator and stuff like that, so this is just all my opinion. Whereas this is my opinion. I don't have to be an animator in order to give my opinion on it, so I'm not going to sit there and say something that ridiculous. I get it. I'm not an animator. Whatever. Who cares? That's completely irrelevant to me giving my opinion on something that I don't think looks good or not. And I'm not saying that the trailer as a whole looks indecent. I'm just saying this is, so far, like when I went back through the trailer, this was not a lot of places in the trailer where I could actually pause on a frame that actually looked it pretty decent. And I'm not saying they're saying that all frame by frame, because you get it. And every anime, even the most best looking ones, you're always going to have that goofy frame that when you pause it, it's going to be like the still moment. It's like, ugh, ew, gross. But I mean, like in here, it just felt like a lot of those were more consistent when it came to a lot of the animation. Like there was some very much goofy moments, like and like in the fight between Lubu and Thor, like when you zoom out in terms of, and you're looking from the backdrop and you just see them, they kind of look a bit goofy in some areas. And I don't necessarily like the entirety of the animation style that they have done with Adam. I get it in terms of how Adam is supposed to look according to them, because obviously they use animation to kind of like make him look a bit more rigid and rugged. But see, the thing I like about the manga is it didn't need to do that to convey his presence, right? And so that you show that he was old, that, you know, he was more like an older person, you know, he had a more maturity to him. And yes, even though he did have a bit of childishness in there when you actually read it, necessarily you still felt like you can understand that, oh, this guy is a father, right? This guy is, you know, like he's a man, right? And he didn't need to just happen to look that way. So I feel like in some, like, and when you see some of the flows inside their fights, like when you're looking at him and Zeus punching at each other, it's just kind of weird on that front too. And then like Zeus kind of looks a bit too goofy, like even when you get into his muscle form. And I don't like to steal for his Amadeus form, because I always felt like it was going to be like red. It just kind of gives him like this deep shade of brown, you know, like that dark brown, the kind of like mud brown, and it doesn't really look all too good to me. You know, so his diamond form, or like I said, the Amadeus form, you know, I was always gonna be like red, which I actually think would make a bit more sense. Not like a super light colored red, but more like a red around like a more rouge or like a burgundy style red. But I guess that's just me. But yeah, other than that, as far as like the trailer goes in terms of setting up the fights and that nature, we haven't really seen Hercules or Jack the Ripper, which I don't think they're going to do that fight. Now, don't get me wrong, in terms of like a 12 episode run, which I think is what they're going to be doing, given the fact that Records of Ragnarok is still such a very new series, and in terms of the fights that we have right now, I think we're only at like what, number 6 or number 7 in terms of the fights. So it's not really that many fights that have gone on in terms of the entirety of the series that's going to be going forth here. So they can only do so much, right? They can only do so much. It's different from something like Kingen, which by the time they did that anime had basically already moved over from Ashura and was starting to go into Omega, right? It was already like pretty much finishing up, so they can do that, and they could separate it out, and they can make it a little bit longer, right? They could even do a season 2, and they could put that out more quickly than what they would have naturally been able to do. But here, right now, I think it's going to be a long time post season 1 before we ever even really get to see a season 2, especially given how Records of Ragnarok is unfolding in terms of its manga, because it's like on a month-to-month release. And so definitely going to be a long time before we even get a season 2. So I think it's going to be 12 episodes, and they're going to be focusing on those initial 3 fights. Now, what I would kind of want them to do is switch up the fight between Adam and Zeus. I kind of sense, I know that comes second in the actual manga, right? That's the second fight, but I feel like that should be the ending fight for this season to kind of like get somebody hyped, because that was the most hype fight. It's my favorite fight in the manga. I think I've told you guys this before, but it's definitely the most hype fight to me, that would definitely get people's interest up for season 2 or something like that. But they're probably gonna put it in that slot of the middle, which because it's not that the Sasaki and Poseidon fight isn't good to me, but I feel like it was just more like a charity fight at that point, and it didn't really have all too much interest. And whereas I like Sasaki's backstory a little bit, I didn't necessarily like the character, and I didn't like some of the things he was about. Although I get his motives, I just didn't like some of the things he was about. In terms of like Poseidon, he's not that he isn't cool, but he's just kind of like this huge dick. And then when you get off of a fight of such meaning and such impact as Zeus and Adam, then to go to that, it's just not good. It's like a really big downgrade. So I would hope that they switch those fights around. I would want them to. I mean, I doubt they're going to do that. I mean, it seems to be really, in order to do that huge impact that kind of like people get initially into the series, they're going to be really emphasizing on the Lubu and Thor fight, because of all the fights in here, those two look the most impactful when it comes to their fight. It's that initial fight, which I can understand, right? You always want that initial fight when you're getting people to engage with the series to be very impactful, because, right, you want to kind of like throw a little bit more of the budget towards them, because you want people to be like talking about it. They're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I can't wait to see the next episode. I can't wait to continue with the series. And then, in that last fight, for when you're going to have to wait a little bit, because there's always going to be that hiatus for season 2 or something like that, to where you can get that right, and then you can go forward. You're like, oh my god, I love that ending so much. Oh, I can't wait to see what comes next. So I think that that's a good thing on that front. In terms of everything else, I think it all looks generally fine. Like I said, there were some hiccups in the animation to me, but for the most part, it looks pretty decent. And I think that this is going to be, considering that this is like the second trailer, and we're like right around the corner from June, I think this is going to be like essentially their final trailer, and then they're going to just roll the anime out to us as is. So I think what we're seeing now in terms of how it looks, they may change up a few more things, but at this point, I think that how we see it right now is definitely how it's going to look going forward in terms of the actual anime and what we're going to see, which, by the way, by no means is bad. I think it looks good, and so far I haven't really seen anything that would call like horrendous CGI that's been plaguing a lot of these fighting style animes that have been coming out recently. Hopefully they don't do it, and if they do it, hopefully they make it at least look decent, right? They're probably going to have to do it, because there's like a lot of effects that go into here, especially when you look at like somebody like Thor and Luba, who do use a lot of big like big powers and big techniques. That's going to be quite out there. And even when we look at some of the backstories for these characters, which, by the way, is I think this is going to pad out the runtime to make it at least 12 episodes, and this are going to pad out that runtime, because some of the backstories in here can take up at least 2 episodes, right, for some of these characters. And then if they started to add in a bit more filler to it, yeah, I can definitely understand how they can pad out the runtime on that just to get it to 12 episodes, because those 3 fights in and of themselves, I think if you actually did it naturally, because taking some creative liberties and then happen to cut some stuff out, cut off some fluff, it probably, those first 3 fights would probably only be about maybe 5 episodes at most. So yeah, they're definitely going to be padding out the runtime by adding in and maybe even further expounding upon the backstories. Like I said, taking some creative liberties with that. But yeah, other than that, I think this looks fantastic, and I actually can't wait to see it. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
It's party time.
果たして人類はこの先1000年の存続をことができるのか。
人間よ、祈るのはおやめなさい。私たちが倒さなければならない相手はあなたが今祈っている神なのですから。
I just be running. They say I'm like the fastest man alive and shit. I mean, I guess that's why I run away from my problems so much.
Fast money, fast cars, fast bitches. That triple F life is with that young living. He run fast as what? Got no deodorant on, cause he never sweats, especially over no bitch up in the club. They say his speed manipulates time and space, so he went back in time to fuck Pocahontas' face.